I'm Slava Zilber. Welcome to Conversations with Slava. Thank you for supporting this show on Patreon. Today, I'm talking to the comedian and political activist, Randy Credico.
Nice to be on here, Slava. Thank you for having me on again.
It's a pleasure. Randy, when you hear Occupy Wall Street, what comes to your mind?
So long ago, I don't know. It was a happiness and sadness. It was a great moment that came to an end. That was crushed by the New York mayor and police department, not only in New York but across the country under the Obama administration. What comes to my mind is how powerful the state power is, and how leery they are of any kind of dissent, particularly from the left. And so that's what that represents. It was an educational experience. It was I suppose it was a small version of the Paris Commune in 1871. There was a lot of hope then. Of course, that was militarily crushed by the state. These were a bunch of small enclaves of protesters that were nonviolent, and they really thought that they were going to shake up the system, but the system wouldn't take any chance at all. It wasn't even that big of a movement, but so they crushed it early on, and we never reorganized since.
Never?
Well, we haven't organized like we did back then. I mean, it was like that. I mean, there's not a lot of demonstrations going on these days. Oh, there are Black Lives Matter, but that kind of movement that challenged the economic structure, the disparity in wealth, the rigged game at Wall Street and the banks, challenging the very foundation of capitalism, was what we were trying to do, rather than doing things on the edge of capitalism. We were going right for the jugular, and it was a growing movement, and it was that hasn't been replicated since. Nothing like that.
Has Occupy Wall Street affected laws? Has it changed the structure of how politics works, how banks work?
Nah, not really. There were people that understood that, it was the 99% against the 1%. The 99% were ever to actually, coalesce and cooperate. They could overthrow nonviolently the system that only favors that little 1% of 1%, not really the 1%. It's that top echelon, defense contractors, Wall Street, the banks, big pharma, all of these big institutions that totally control the system here. And they're not about to let that go, and they do not like any challenges. So, has it changed? Have any laws been, there's been some very minor laws that have been passed to regulate Wall Street, but, there's been deregulation. The rich are richer right now. They got a tax cut a couple of years ago. They don't pay taxes. This is like Brazil at this point. People in Europe and Eastern Europe, they pay far more taxes than we do, and definitely much more the corporations over there than the U.S. Rich do. So they don't pay taxes. And having that extra money, they're able to buy politicians on every level, from city government to local county government, state government, and all the way national government. So they got control, they got the money, and the people who are in power on just about on any level represent the interests of the 0.5%. So the whole system is gamed, which it was from the very start. It always favored the rich, and that's the way the world runs.
Right now, I'm looking at a photo of a man with a white beard and a green sign. Diogenes says, Governor Cuomo, Senator Schumer, property of Goldman Sachs. Do you remember?
Yeah, right. You're looking at that, not the one behind me. I don't think I have that. That seems like one of my campaign posters. But I ran for office 3 times, and everyone I ran against was controlled by the corporations. When I ran for Senate, Chuck Schumer is owned by Wall Street. When I ran for governor against Cuomo, Cuomo was controlled by all the big real estate interests, big pharma, and basketball and football teams, totally controlled. And Bill de Blasio, the same thing. They're all controlled. They get in there, and they like the illusion of having power. When the power rests in different areas, the power does not rest in the ones that have their faces out there. Power rests elsewhere.
How do you know that? Can you prove it?
How can I prove that to power? Because they may sign the bills, but they do what, look, we're building submarines in Australia. All right, we're going to spend $1 trillion on submarines that we don't need because even though it could end the world with some kind of provocation with China, that's what it's all about. China just is better at operating with their form of communist capitalism. They're able to go into countries and say, hey, let's fix your roads, and you give us a taste of whatever you grow here, the soybeans. All right, we'll build the roads since you can't. Here, we just go bomb and grab the stuff. And so China, which has, they live within their means and they don't overspend and they help developing countries. We go and we bomb Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, Honduras, whatever it is where we go in and try to see shit. They build stuff. And so they've developed a lot of goodwill around the world. The U.S., its empire is dying, and so is Australia, and so is the UK. Their influence is dying. So this is and they're going to spend up to $1 trillion on submarines for what? The China Seas belongs to China. China Seas belongs to China. It doesn't belong to the U.S. Imagine if they were in the Florida Keys, China with a submarine. Who do these countries think they are? All of them, the whole Five Eyes group, those 3 that I mentioned in New Zealand and Canada, these are outlaw rogue nations that can't build anything. All they do is bomb everything.
You had several encounters with U.S. police.
During Occupy Wall Street? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I've had a lot. I've been arrested many times over the years by protesting. So I've got arrest record, and I've been in jail 6 or 7, 8 times. I don't know, more than that, but mostly over the last 10 years. But that's what I do. I go out and challenge. I don't do anything violent. I challenge the police. It's not just the police, it's the judges and the prosecutors and the politicians. I challenge all of it. And sometimes I put myself on the line. You got to be willing to go to jail or even die if you want to see any changes in your short lifetime that you have. If you don't want to pass on a better world to the next generation, you just want to live for yourself and, do flesh-pleasing activity all the time, that's fine. The graveyards, we've got 1 billion people in the graveyards in this country that did just that. Very few have those who were willing to make the sacrifice to make this country better, to make a country internally. People who, gave up their freedom, many died, trying to make this system better. And it's a little bit better in some ways, but we're slipping backwards. But I went to jail, and it was okay. I'm glad to see the jails. I was only there for 1 or 2 days at a time. I can't imagine these people like Julian Assange spending 2.5 years in a prison in that room, in that terrible, dank, squalid environment that he's in. It's very dangerous and threatening, ominous to his health. And so I don't think I have the mindset to be able to go through that. I have a hard time being by myself sometimes. But I guess some people are able to adapt, but it wears you down. The 1 or 2 days in jail, easy to do, but I was able to get back to doing what I do best, and that is to get out there and make trouble.